जी अरीबा, so I see you have a Disprin in your hand, and I'm sure आप normally Disprin नहीं खाती जब आपको सर में दर्द होता है, आप Panadol खाती होगी. And you recently did a story on Panadol. I think it's one of the most interesting stories जो Prophet ने publish की हैं. उसकी वजह ये है कि this story covers a lot of facets in business journalism. So it talks about branding. It talks about how businesses in Pakistan have to deal with the government. And how that can get ugly. It talks about PR. It talks about the legal aspects and how sometimes the legal, something that is completely legal is yet not acceptable in the society, and how companies deal with it. So, Ariba, if you could just take us through the Panadol story, that Panadol Pakistan mein short kyun hai, and why is this an issue that is being discussed?
So thank you so much. And yes, I don't usually have Disprin. Basically, it's not Disprin, it's aspirin, the generic name, not the brand name. But Panadol or paracetamol, produced by GSK, is called Panadol. Generally, people don't call it paracetamol because in Pakistan, our doctors are so used to prescribing brand names that we forego the generic names. And that is a completely different discussion on why our doctors prescribe brand names. But the problem at hand is that Panadol is a widely consumed medicine, and it is very difficult to find these days. A few weeks ago, I was talking to a CEO at a financial institution, and I asked him about his trip to the northern areas. And he said, okay, my mother-in-law asked for Panadol. And he was like, what? And that is how we figured out that there is something up with the Panadol supply. But then moving forward, there's been multiple media outlets reporting that, oh, there's a Panadol shortage because Panadol stopped production. GSK has not posted anything on the stock exchange regarding its ceasing production or halting production. It has not posted anything about it slowing its production down. Which means that, one, this decision is primarily either they've undertaken it and they haven't disclosed it, or two, they haven't really done such a thing and it's just spread in the media so that ये जो Panadol की shortage है, उसको address किया जाए इस वजह से कि ओ हमें production में महंगा बन रहा है, इसलिए we've stopped doing it. But the timing for this could not be any worse because dengue is an issue all over Pakistan right now. Floods are an issue. This is also a seasonal time where flu, fever, etc. are there, and Panadol is the first barrier. I remember in my school there was this headmistress, if you would go to her and say, I have a stomach ache, she would still tell you to have Panadol. So the demand for Panadol is already extremely high all year round, and for this to happen at such a time is also, it draws a lot of questions.
So Riba, this is interesting. So Panadol is a brand name और इसका generic जो product है वो market में readily available है. So अगर देखा जाए तो this really isn't a big health crisis कि अगर Panadol नहीं available तो लोगों को वो वो दवाई नहीं मिलेगी तो दवाई तो available है. सिर्फ Panadol की shortage है. Am I right?
Absolutely. So lots of medicine suppliers, pharmaceutical suppliers, what they've done is they've released a list के Panadol के बदले में ये brand paracetamol बनाता है. You can use this, you can use this, you can use this. So paracetamol available है, generic name वाला available है, that can still be used. But then again, the crisis comes down. One, doctors prescribe Panadol. Two, people are so used to it. Three, Panadol has now become synonymous with paracetamol, the same way Xerox is used instead of photocopy around the world, the same way surf is used instead of washing powder. इस तरह की बहुत सारी चीजें होते over time it just becomes easy कि यार एक Panadol दे दो या एक Brufen दे दो, even though the generic name is paracetamol, the generic name is ibuprofen, the generic name in this case is aspirin, not Disprin. So that is one.
So this is obviously a success on the part of GSK के उन्होंने Panadol को इस लेवल पे ले आए हुए हैं कि उसकी शॉर्टेज जो है उसके लिए लोग जो है बाहर से Panadol इंपोर्ट कर रहे हैं और मीडिया के ऊपर भी बहुत डिस्कस हो रहा है. एंड रिसेंटली रीबा ड्रग रेगुलेटरी अथॉरिटी ऑफ पाकिस्तान के एक इंस्पेक्टर ने जीएसके के एक वेयर हाउस पे रेड मारी, जहां से उनको एक अच्छे खासे तादाद में पेनाडोल का स्टॉक मिला, एंड दैट टर्न्ड आउट टू बी पीआर डिजास्टर फॉर जीएसके। काफी उनकी फिर स्टॉक एक्सचेंज पे, इससे पहले तो उन्होंने पेनाडोल का कोई, आपने जैसे बताया, कोई नोटिफिकेशन नहीं दिया था, बट इस चीज को एड्रेस करने के लिए कि वो जो रेड मारी गई है वो गलत मारी गई है, और उससे जो लोगों ने अखज़ किया है नतीजा वो भी गलत है, उसके ऊपर जरा अगर आप हमें एक्सप्लेन करें कि ड्रैप ने रेड क्यों मारी, और इन द फर्स्ट प्लेस ड्रैप और जीएसके जो कंपनी पैनाडोल बनाती है उसका मसला चल क्या रहा है आपस में?
So DRAP and GSK have this problem कि GSK को अपनी प्राइस बढ़ानी है, DRAP बढ़ाने नहीं दे रहा. It rejected the decision and it said no, you cannot increase your prices. तो एक तो ये मसला हो गया. तो this problem had been going on. As a result, market में GSK की जो Panadol है उसकी shortage आई हुई थी. Lots of blogs, lots of media outlets have written कि production रुक गई है. But again, उन लोगों ने कोई inform नहीं किया था. And then moving forward क्या हुआ कि जब ये rate पड़ा, तो the rate showed that they had stock of Panadol. तो या तो आपने बनानी छोड़ दी है और आपने ये रखी है, या तो you're still making it but you've reduced the supply and this is normal distribution के लिए रखा हुआ. Because from what our sources explain, this is less than even the buffer stock. So it isn't a case of hoarding. It isn't a case of profiteering कि हम उसको hoard करते हैं, जब price बढ़ेगी तो फिर हम बेचते हैं. This was primarily suspected to be a case of, listen, let's reduce the supply, let's create a crunch so that DRAP has no other option but to, fall into our demands and increase the price. But it's like, वो जो Uno reverse card होता है कि पहले GSK had the upper hand because they had like sympathy, and then एक DRAP ने ना Uno reverse card डाल दिया, and now the government has the sympathy कि देखो ये तो hoarding कर रहे हैं. So it's kind of like that right now.
So Riba, this is very interesting. So it seems like a case of दोनों sides एक अपनी negotiating position improve करने के लिए arm twisting कर रही हैं एक दूसरे की, and consumer का कहने को नुकसान हो रहा है, but in reality they have an alternative available. It's just that because of the reasons that you've already explained, they want to have Panadol and not just other generic name.
So हो ये रहा है कि, like I said, it's what they're doing is they're playing a PR game. GSK was playing the PR game, getting sympathy कि हम price बढ़ाना चाह रहे हैं, हमें कोई बढ़ाने नहीं दे रहा. Now the government has sympathy. Look, this corporation is profiteering. We found them doing this. Even though in the story we've also covered that they don't really have the law authority of rating and inspecting quantities because that is beyond the jurisdiction. But even though this still gave the government an upper hand. And what this shows is that in the end, it's just the consumer that is being played in terms of PR, but also it leaves a lot to question on the consumer about how informed they are of the choices they make. So if you're buying a medicine, it is nice to know what your options are. Of course, GSK is treated like a global brand. So maybe that is why people are more inclined to buying it, but also over the years, just as हम बात करें, the GSK has established itself as the paracetamol in Pakistan. But yeah, no, this case shows us that public relations and PR images are absolutely important in business decisions. This is a classic case.
So Ariba, you also talked to a lawyer. So what did he say? क्या जीएसके के लिए पैनाडोल बनाना जरूरी है? अगर उन्हें वो प्राइस एक्सेप्टेबल नहीं है तो क्या उनका दिल करे तो वो बनाना रोक दें, या अगर वो कम बनाना भी शुरू कर दें, या अगर वो स्टॉक्स बनाने के बावजूद मार्केट में ना बेचें? Is that illegal?
So when we think about pharmaceuticals, we think about, oh my God, they're saving lives. They're out there, making life-saving products, helping people improve the quality of their life. Like in reality, most of these pharmaceuticals are profit-making organizations. उनके shareholders होते हैं, उनको dividend देना होता है, उन shareholders को जवाबदेह होते हैं. तो हाँ, एक तरफ वो दुनिया में लोगों की जानें बचा रहे हैं, but at the same time, they're a profit-making entity. तो अगर if a government makes it absolutely difficult for them to make profits, so the only solution they have is कि इन जो products में उनको profit नहीं बन रहा, उनको रोक सकते हैं. तो as a corporation, maybe as a humanitarian thing, हमें ये गलत लग रहा हो, but as a business decision, it is not wrong, and they cannot be penalized for it unless they're artificially creating shortages or artificially tampering the market. The lawyer, when we spoke to Moiz Jaffrey, and he said कि ये जो drug regulatory authority है, वो अपने jurisdiction से बाहर था when it went to examine the quantity level. इनका काम है सिर्फ देखना quality of the drug, किस situation, किस conditions में रखा हुआ है, are they safe, is there anything that is affecting the efficacy of the drug, that is their issue. So अगर वो इस मामले पे GS, पहली बात तो ये है कि these were not extremely high levels कि इसको hoarding कहा जाए, but if they take GSK to court कि आप hoarding कर रहे थे, so the case won't really stand because the court will be like, आप अपने jurisdiction से बाहर हैं, this is beyond your powers, because the Drug Act does not give them these powers.
So Ariba, DRAP तो अपनी jurisdiction को overstep कर रहा था, but can the government in general force a company to produce something legally? So जब GSK ने Panadol बनाने का पाकिस्तान में लाइसेंस लिया, तो क्या उन्होंने ये साइन किया कि यार हमें प्राइस एक्सेप्टेबल हो या ना हो, हमें आप फोर्स कर सकते हैं हमारी ब्रांड के नाम से एक पैरासिटामोल बनाना, और अगर हमने बना भी लिया है तो और रख लिया और हम नहीं बेचना चाहते, तो इज इट द कंपनीज प्रेरोगेटिव कि वो बना के रख लें और ना बेचें? मैं लीगल सवाल पूछ रहा हूँ. आई नो पब्लिक में दिस वुड बी अनएक्सेप्टेबल. पब्लिक फील्स के उनको अगर बना ली थी तो देनी चाहिए थी, मगर लीगली वर दे बाउंड?
Not exactly. They aren't really bound. Again, corporation hai, they could justify it in whatever way. उन्होंने कोई जिम्मेदारी नहीं ली कि हाँ पाकिस्तान की पैरासिटामोल की जिम्मेदारी हमारी है. We've signed an MOU with the government. They haven't really done that. So business wise, they're completely fine. Humanitarian wise, we can have a debate and it can go on. But at the end of the day, corporations are corporations. That I'm not calling them evil. I'm just saying corporations are corporations.
They're there to make money, and I think यही शायद प्रॉब्लम है. आपने जब GSK के CEO से बात भी की तो उन्होंने आपको कैटेगोरिकली ये नहीं बताया कि हमने प्रोडक्शन रोक दी है, ना उन्होंने आपको कैटेगोरिकली ये बताया कि ये हमने बस हम भेज ही रहे थे मार्केट में. You know, they were he was essentially not willing to disclose a lot because even though he can very well say कि यार हाँ हमने नहीं बनाई हमारी मर्जी, या हाँ हमने बनाई भी थी और हमने नहीं बेची हमारी मर्जी, हमें नहीं एक्सेप्टेबल, बट लीगली तो वो ये बात सही होगी, बट ऐसी लीगल बात पब्लिक में करना शायद पब्लिक को हजम ना हो, एंड इट कुड बिकम अ बिगर PR fiasco. And I think this shows के you know something that is legal is not necessarily something जो कि पब्लिक या उनके जो कस्टमर्स हैं उन्हें ये बात पसंद आएगी. So Ariba, thank you so much for your insights on the Panadol shortage and what it means. Till next time, viewers, Allah Hafiz.